Welcome to the 10 Acre Woods. My name's Mark, and today we're going to talk about cold weather farming, keeping animals in cold climates. So it can be a challenge from time to time. You want to make sure that they're sheltered and watered and everybody's safe and happy. So I'm out here with the two donkeys and Levi. And it was funny, this morning Tara was out snow blowing the driveway because of all the snow we recently got. And Levi was running back and forth, wanting to play with her. So you can see Levi's coat here. He's developed, and animals will of course develop a coat depending on the conditions. So if he lived in a more southern climate, he wouldn't be so fluffy, cute, and furry as he is. The donkeys, and you can kind of see Billy in the back there. He's in his little house in the back. It doesn't look like the donkeys have been inside the building. Actually, it looks like Levi as well. They don't mind the outside. They have the shelter, so they've got this shelter over here that they do go into. Some people do put blankets on them, but of course if you put blankets on them over a long period of time from the beginning, they are not going to develop that coat that they have. So of course taking off the blanket, and then they could get a chill depending on when it was used and how often it's used. So over in this area here, so we've got our electric fence spring gate here. I'm going to talk about how to choose an electric fence in the spring when it warms up. We've got our water, and we have a float valve that's in here. So you can see the ice build up around it. That kind of acts as an insulation, and then we've got the floater in there. And we just haul water out in the morning, and in the evening we check it, make sure they have their water. They've got their salt licks here and their hay, and they've got some nice dry bedding in there that they can go in. They can get off of the snow and have a little sleep. Right, Levi? But it's nice out today. It's actually minus 14. It's nice. It's beautiful. There has been quite a wind the last few days. So getting into our ducks and rabbits. Now Tara has put this here because we did put Billy and Carl in the front, and it was just kind of an extra added precaution so they couldn't see in. So I've attached this nice little lock clip here. And when we come in here, this actually is, it's not warm, but it's warmer than outside. And that's due to, we've got some poly here that when the sun does shine, it comes in and actually warms up this area. And there is no insulation in here. That could be something that maybe we add in. But the important thing is to make sure that they're on dry ground and that they're out of the elements, out of the wind. So we've got all the ducks in here. Now I did point out this. This is their watering dish, and there's lots of ice on that. Somebody was asking about, well, can't something be done on that? Are they getting enough water? They've got a few watering dishes. They've got another one over in here that we have. So what we'll do is we'll fill these watering containers up twice a day, once in the morning, once in the evening. So these guys get probably about 4 gallons of water a day, which is plenty. Now, so one thing we don't want to do is we don't want to use a heater inside the building. Now, that can be a concern, of course, with the fire safety. We have had a few local farms in the area that have lost their building and in some cases some of their animals. So we tend not to use heaters, both water and air heaters, inside buildings. So we've done some things to try to cope with that. And one of the things inside the main building, where it's fairly warm, it's actually 0 degrees or above 0 degrees, the freezing mark, is we actually cool it and ventilate it. And it's the body heat combined with the insulation of the building, that helps out there. So we'll go in there in a little bit and check that out. And of course the rabbits as well. So the rabbits have their choice. They can go outside if they'd like. And then they've got their inside area in here that they can go in, they can get underneath, they can tuck in the hay, and they're happy. They've got little areas to burrow and get out of, you know, sometimes they can be shy, and they'll want to go and hide out in little areas. Most of the time they're out though. So behind me you can see the poly that's on the south side of the building, and that allows what, well, right now what little amount of sun, it allows some sun to get in there and to warm it up. So that helps keep it a little warmer. And outside here you can see the run, you can see there has been some activity out here. We've got the little shelters in here, the little winter homes, just in case they want to get away. And then we've got a section underneath there as well. So lots of little nooks and crannies for them to get into and hide, you know, just in case you don't care too much for your roommate. So that's the outside of the building, and if you've been watching our channel, you will have probably watched the video where we redid this. So before, the roof was actually coming down this way, and we had ice build up here at the bottom of the door. So this has helped so far tremendously. The main problem is in the spring when you get melting, and it would drip down, and we'd have a huge ice spot here, and we'd always have to chip away at the door. So when building your buildings, just keep in mind, if you are in a colder climate, to make sure that your roofing is as such that it's not going to promote that ice buildup. Also, one more thing that you want to look at is the building up front that the ponies use, the larger one. We've built that in such a way, I believe it's a 10 by 10 structure. And in our area, you're allowed to build up to 103 square feet, I believe it is. It works out, of course, because we're Canadian, it works out in metric, but 103 square feet. So I've built that building without a permit, and I can actually build another one beside it, another one beside it. So I can expand out, but check your local regulations to find out what you're allowed to build. Hi, Coco. How you doing? You guys are outside now. We have Tinker, we have Turbo, Bronwyn, and we have Petunia over there. And it looks like Hannibal's having a drink. And we have Lambert over here. So this is our other watering container. Now this one had failed on us a week ago, I believe it was, and it was over a weekend, and we've got it plugged in, and it runs on an extension cord in to an outlet inside the building. So the heater itself is outside the building. Oh, good drink. Hey, yeah. So again, here we've got a nice opening. It's frosted over, which works well to insulate it. I did contemplate on putting a board halfway over top of it just to try to keep in some of that heat. But this one's a sinking heater. You can't really see it, but it sits down at the bottom. And what had happened before is there was obviously a problem with the grounding of it. Water had gotten into the element, and of course for the animal safety, you definitely want to be aware of that. So then we talk about electrical plug-ins in the area. So in your bathroom or kitchen, you've got what's called a GFI outlet for ground fault interruption. And what that means is if there is a problem with water, that's why it's in the kitchen and bathroom, and you're using an appliance of some sort and you get a short between ground and live, it will trigger that reset button, and then you'll have to go and you'll have to reset that. So Tara came out and she noticed it wasn't working, and the lights, the LED Christmas lights that we have along the fence are on that same line. So she noticed that they weren't coming on, and then of course noticed that that was frozen. So I came out, had a look at that, She checked the breaker. Of course, the breaker was fine, but it was the ground fault interrupter. So when planning your building and putting electrical outside in your animal structures, just make sure that you have some kind of ground fault interrupter just for the safety of the animals. Hi, Coco. Hi, Blackie. What are you guys doing? Look at all the hay on your mouth. Oh, boy. All right, so that, oh, then we have the alpaca. Right, can't forget about you guys, can I? So Paula, Marley, and Shanzi. Now, we did put them in this area. No, I don't have, they're looking at my hand. I don't have anything. It's not dinner. No, that's my glove. You silly. We put them in here, of course, because Paula here was getting out. She was going out, and we found her in the neighboring field, way over there. So we thought, okay, we're going to lock her up. And now that there's more snow, they tend to wander less. So I was just thinking the other day, I was going to discuss it with Tara, and maybe we reconfigure this and you guys can go back outside. Now they can actually go outside, so it's not too bad, because they have this door here that goes out into that other run. So, you know, we may leave it as such, but we'll have to figure that out and see. They spend most of their time inside anyway. Hi! What are you doing? You guys are funny. Daisy. So Daisy's over here. Daisy. Daisy. Daisy's maybe pouting in the corner. But she's really fluffy as well. All of the ponies. Shadow. You're such a good looking girl, aren't you? Yeah. And we have Willow's bum. So the plug-in is actually right there, and this comes out. It actually goes underneath the building, and then the circuit breaker is just on the other side of that wall inside. And on that plug, there is a ground fault interrupter. Pigeons. So we have some pigeons in here. We scooted them out, well, most of them out of the building, and they tend to just come in here and hang out in the rafters. And then during the day, on some nice days, you'll see them flying around in the yard. And it's kind of nice to see. All right, oh, who do we have here? Of course, it's not a video without little Meadow. Yes, our little baby. So you're going to be a year old this spring. And look at you. And look at how furry she is. So she is... she's got quite a bit of fur on her. Okay. Who did we miss? Oh, we missed the pigs. Okay, so the pigs. So we don't have... Yeah, I know. All grumpy. So you want to make sure there's lots of hay. If you have pigs, they like to burrow. And in this area, you can actually see it's encroaching on the door here. This door, there's actually a step down of about 5 inches. So you can see how much material's in here that we'll have to clean out in the spring. But pigs will burrow in. Yes, I know. It's grumpy pigs. And that's how they keep warm. Even though they don't grow a winter coat, their skin is pretty thick. And that coupled with just nesting into the hay keeps them warm, right, Tinker? Yeah. Water. So they got a watering dish over here, and what we do is it's not heated. We don't want the heat in here, but it's a rubber container, so it's very flexible. So what we'll do is we'll take that outside over by the... Are you still with me? We'll take it outside and we'll put it over in the trench area over here. And there's a pile of ice that's now underneath all this snow. And we'll just dump it there and we'll fill some new water for them. Hey? And keeping it nice and low so the pigs can get at it. Of course, the pigs can't get in that big trough. So this regularly gets dumped out with ice and then refilled. So, coming into the barn, there's Fernando. He says, come see me, come see me. I want to be on film. Okay, so when this building was wired up, again, it comes from that breaker that's inside the building, and this is the primary outlet right here. So the power from this building comes into it and then gets split out into the lighting and some of the other plugs. And you can actually see there, it has the reset and test buttons on it. And it's actually got a little light down here on the bottom. You can see that light's green, so it means there's power to this plug. So if anything in this building here gets tripped, you know, we've got some of these here. This is a power cord that gets plugged into here, which is all wired through that outlet. So if there's a problem with any of these sections here where there's a ground fault, it will blow that interrupter on that. And we've had that happen a couple times. And it's just a safety concern, making sure that we're not going to have any injuries or deaths because one of the animals or one of us gets electrocuted in and around water and humid areas. So this building here is, well, it's a few years old, 5 years old I think it is. Time flies when you're having fun. But this whole building is completely insulated. So when we designed it in such a way, because of the way the outside building out there is attached to it, we've designed it in such a way that it'll scoop any water off down at the far end. It is lower down there, but that's fine. There's less of an area to heat. So heating, speaking of heating in here, so there's no heating whatsoever. Initially we thought we would have to heat it. So we've got the Fernando. We've got the chickens. Essentially, this is the chicken pen, chicken coop. But we put the Muscovy ducks in here because they have to be inside. Well, they have to be above -10 degrees Celsius, or else they can freeze. So there are special characters there. Of course, so is Fernando, and then our chickens. So on the other side of this beam here, we actually have an outlet, and we put one there, and we put one over in the peafowl pen, because we thought we were going to have to hang lights that came down. But because of the body heat in here, we actually end up cooling this building. Oh, there's Sheldon making his rounds. Like always, buddy. You get so much energy. Look it, you're just doing circles around Moira. Okay, so we've got our fan system over here. And I initially started out, it is quite dusty. You can see it draws out that dust from the barn. But I had initially put in a smaller booster fan, and it just didn't work very well. So here on the wall, I've got the outlet, and I've kind of jerry-rigged something on here. It's an old air conditioning Mercury switch that's plugged in, and it's set up to activate that fan on a relay system with an override switch there, which I actually still have to mount. We took it down when we painted the ceiling, but I still have to mount that. So I can set the temperature on the thermostat to 1 degree, and if it gets above that, it'll actually turn on that fan and start cooling the system. How's everybody doing? Nice and warm and cozy? Hey? Yeah, so they're all nice and happy. And of course, these are our special ones. Of course, Sheldon's nice and special because, well, he's our little autistic goat. Then we have George. George is not quite a year old yet. Moira's just small, so she's good enough to come in here. The other goats and sheep are working with her to become friendly. And she is slowly starting to come around. You couldn't get anywhere near her when she came in a year ago. And then we have Hazel over there, which of course she was born in June. And Holly and Billie Jean are our younger ones as well. So, hey Sheldon, you're silly. So these pigs in here, so these are some of the rescues that came in. There were 7 that came in. We've got the 2 left, and they're under a year old as well. So we want to make sure that they acclimate themselves to the temperature. That we want to make sure that they're over a year old before we introduce them out into the cold climate. This area here is currently just storage, and we've got these shelving units here. Now this, you can see this build out. This is where the water comes from. So we used to have a mobile home that was sitting basically right essentially where we are. Our master bedroom was pretty much right here. When we moved that out and built this building, that was our water source. So what I ended up doing when we built our new house, we decided that we would use that, and it goes straight from the well, but I had to run a heater in it because the line would freeze. So this here is a line that actually goes inside the pipe, and this is a special coupling that allows that to happen. And I push the line down through the pipe. Now, this doesn't have any kind of regulator on it, which I thought it did. It's essentially just an element. So then what I had to do is I had to rig up this timer here, and the timer turns the heater on for 15 minutes and off for half an hour, on for 15, off for half an hour, so that it's not extremely hot, but it's not going to freeze. Then we've got our main here. You always want to install a main line, and then we've got our valve here. Now in the summertime, what we do is this line here that's currently disconnected actually goes over and goes down the line, and there's a spigot outside on that end of the building, and then we hook up all of our automatic waterers to that. But of course in the wintertime we don't need that. This is our summertime double spigot here that gets connected to that. And we actually had a problem where we disconnected that and the end came off and water just started rushing through. So I immediately shut off this main. So if you didn't have that main, there would be a whole big problem. So whenever doing plumbing, make sure that you hook up some kind of main emergency shut-off valve, just in case you do run into a problem. So I'm out here in the front pen where the alpacas and Daisy have access to. So of course this is the main pen over here. There's the pond, and of course the shelter. We're planning on redoing this shelter here because of course it was built with just scrap wood. So what we want to do is we want to put plywood on the inside of that, just to further reduce any wind drafts that blow through. Now, what I wanted to show you here was, this is an intake. So this intake here, if we go inside and duck down through here, I've got this pipe that runs completely through into the building. And you saw the exhaust fan that's inside the building there in the far end. So this actually draws the fresh air into the building, into this end of the building, as it exhausts out the far end. So that just has a pass-through ventilation system. Now, last winter, what I did is, because we had built this a few years ago, my concern was about having the vent right there. With all of the breathing going on in here, we had quite a bit of moisture in the air that got sucked up into that vent, and it frosted up and got all kinds of debris. There was even like lots of dust, and there was even some hay in there. So what I figured is, okay, well, we've got to extend it outside. And I kind of anticipated that was going to happen. But of course, you know, I figured, well, I'll give it a shot and see what happens. But I did end up running that vent across here. And it's worked out a lot better. All right, guys. Oh, there you are. Hi, Willow. You're so shy. She just needs more work, I guess. So I'm inside our storage shop. We tend to go back and forth as to what we call this building. Our workshop is in here. We have an area for storage. We don't use this too much for air conditioning or for heating. We have a wood burning stove here as well. This used to be the addition to our trailer that was mounted on here, and then we just kind of left this in place. But this is where our electrical is for this area. We've got a sub panel out here, and we've got 4 breakers on that. So now with LED lighting, it makes it so much easier to use less outlets or less circuits because it doesn't take all that much. So basically the entire barn is pretty much on one unit, just because we don't use heat lamps. The only thing we use power for is I've got a Wi-Fi extender that's in the barn, and of course the lights in there, and the inline water heater, and that's essentially all that's running in there. Now I've also got this plugged in here, my rat's nest here. This is the camera system that I use. You've probably seen some of the footage. I did one a few weeks ago with that little meadow running around the pond. And of course, those are cameras that are just set up, call it our little baby monitors. Now talking about heat lamps. So if you are using heat lamps, just make sure that, they're in good shape and they're not chewed, especially around rabbits and such. And use a ground fault interrupter on your circuit. Now, when you're picking up a heat lamp, using something like this that actually has a cage on it. A lot of times, you can have something more similar to this. This one actually will take a cage. It's got the holes in it. But just having a lamp like this could cause problems. If it were to fall, especially for whatever reason, that heat lamp would be right on hay or whatever material. An animal could come through and hit it and knock it off. But with this cage on it, at least say if it fell down, it could actually, it'd give you a chance. It would rest on it and the bulbs are recessed in. So always look for one with this type of guard. Also, when you're picking lights, go with an actual bulb that's made for heating. So it's an infrared heat lamp. And you can pick these up at most farmyard supply stores, even Home Depot sells them. What you don't want to use, especially with chickens, is you don't want to use those Christmas floodlights that are, painted red, have a red or a pink coat on them, or green. What happens there is, since this is infrared, it doesn't affect the sleep cycle of people and animals, or very minimal. What we found is when you use a colored red floodlight in with chickens, they actually get stressed out because it's not infrared, it's just a red light. So birds should have, I think we've got 12 or 14 hours of light on a timer in there, and they need that so that they know that it's fine to lay eggs. Chickens who don't get enough light will actually go into a molt and remain in that stasis period over the winter, and they stop laying eggs in that time period. So you can actually force them into a molt. If that's something that you want to do as part of your flock management, you can actually shut them down for a while. They'll go into a molt, stop laying eggs, put that self-preservation back into themselves, and then you can kind of put a timer on. But look for an infrared heat lamp. So yeah, I can't stress enough farm safety on heat lamps, making sure you have a GFI, making sure you have shieldings, and if you don't need a heat lamp, don't use one. They are, as I mentioned, we've had numerous fires in the last few weeks, and it's because of heat lamps. So just be safe with that. So something else that happened this past week, we had another one of our animals pass away. Now it's been quite a few years since we've pretty much got spoiled. Over the last number of years, we haven't really lost any animals. But in the last 10 months, we've lost 3 animals with Patches, Berry, and now Snow. So Snow passed away. Snow actually came in with Patches 2014, and so she was 6 years with us. the previous owners, they had both Patches and Snow for 4 years, and they were adults when they got them in. So they were at least 12 years old, and 12 to 15 years is pretty standard for goats. You will get some that live quite a bit longer, and then some, of course, not so much. And it's always sad when this happens, but we have to just remember, you know, she had a great life here. So a lot of these animals that that wouldn't have survived otherwise or had a shortened life have been good. So she will be missed. You know, it was snowing the other day, and I saw the whispering snow floating through the air, and I thought, oh, snow. You know, I got into one of those little Zen moments. But that's what's important, is to remember them. Of course, it takes a little bit of time to. When Tara told me, I was pretty shocked. But then it's like, okay, well, and then you immediately go into the memories and you think of, you know, what a good life they had. So that's what's important. So there are a few other ones out there that we are concerned with. You know, I've talked about Hannibal. Hannibal's just a little bulldozer. We thought we were going to lose him within the first week or two of him coming in. But he's still, and he's doing better than ever. So he's doing great out there. Blackie is another one of our older ones. Again, we're unsure as to how old she is. Blackie and Silver came in years ago. Silver was actually rehomed, and Blackie stuck around. So Blackie's probably one of the oldest ones alongside Hannibal. So let's just hope that 2020 is a good year, and we don't lose anybody else, because it is tough. And I hate making these little videos telling you that we have lost an animal. But all is good. We're pushing on, and we're looking forward to 2020. So I'd like to thank you all for watching and sticking with me. You know, when I made this channel, I didn't expect to have a bunch of subscribers come in. It was more so for family and whatnot. But it's great. Love to read the comments. And if you're not subscribed, please, if you made it this far in the video, please click that subscribe button. It looks like of my viewers, I've got, I think it's 69% of you are not subscribed. So try it out. Click on that subscribe button. Click on the bell to get notified of new videos. And we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye. We have lots of cuddling going on. So not to get too, I don't want to disturb them because they look very cozy. We have mom and daughter. So we have Snow and Petunia. Snow's on the bottom there, and Petunia is kind of more so on the top here. And it's funny because they always hang out, mom and daughter.